Is this new fusion event possible for mid to early game players? Is it possible for you to get your hands on Ishiyama the Immovable in this Fragment event? Well, we're going to talk about it today and give some advice on a more sort of beginner to mid game perspective. There are a lot of videos about this already, but I want to focus on those players that may be a little bit newer to the game, whether it's worth jumping into this event. Now, if you're really new, you may have a better chance of just using my QR code or clicking the link in the description to get 4 epic champions as you level up, and the choice between one of these legendary champs by using one of their promo codes in the game within 72 hours of starting your account. Probably a better start if you don't have any good legendaries yet already and you're very new to the game. If you're a bit more experienced, you've been playing for a few weeks or a few months, then yeah, let's talk about this event here. Is it possible for you as an early to mid game player? Well, if you've got the energy available, or you've got some gems to spend on energy, then you're going to be able to do most of this event, but there are a couple traps near the end that you're going to need to watch out for, and we'll talk about those today. Firstly, let's look at the total number of fragments available in this event that you can see down here. We've got 130 total. We only need 100. However, there's one problem. 20 of those are for tournament leaderboard rewards. So most likely, we're not going to get that. We can't guarantee that we're going to get first place in a tournament to get these fragments. So it's unlikely that this is going to be possible. So we're going to have to just cross that one out. And realistically, that leaves us with 110 fragments that we can actually get our hands on without, getting lucky with the tournament rewards. So that does mean we are going to need to be a little bit more thoughtful about how we approach this. One of the major issues and bottlenecks for this, and I'll just get straight to the point, I'm not going to yap on about it. I'm going to talk about this first and foremost. It's the 2 events that require getting new champs. So we've got a summon rush here, and also we have a champion chase tournament right at the very end. Now, you could go a little bit lax on one of these and, save yourself 10 fragments worth, because we only need 100 fragments and not 110. But that still means you're going to need a lot of shards, or you're going to need to summon a lot of legendary champions from areas of the game to complete and make progress on both of these. So you're going to need to have quite a considerable number of ancients sitting around, maybe a few sacreds, or have some legendaries ready to fuse if you want to get this champion. If you don't have those, you're just not going to be able to do this. It's as simple as that. You are not going to be able to get enough fragments from this event unless you have the shards available to complete a summon rush, or at least make some progress on a summon rush and a champion chase tournament. Now, if you do have those things, the rest of the event is actually pretty straightforward. For example, the first Dragon tournament lines up perfectly with a Dungeon Divers event, and that will end just as the Ice Golem tournament is starting. So we can also start the Ice Golem and finish the Dungeon Divers event 1 as well if we didn't manage to do it during the Dragon tournament. Another Dungeon Divers event will start as well on the Saturday, and the Spider tournament will start on the Monday, just as that event ends. So we're going to be able to do some Dungeon Divers alongside the Spider tournament. And then we have another Dungeon Divers tournament. Now, this one's going to start just a tiny bit before the Fire Night tournament, and also, about halfway through the Spider tournament. So when it comes to timing your Dungeon Divers and your Dungeon tournament, it's not going to be too hard, right? We've got the Dragon tournament, Ice Golem tournament, and Spider tournament, and Fire Night tournament all aligning with the 3 Dungeon Divers events. So you're going to be able to complete them simultaneously. All you're going to need is some energy, right? Or some gems to spend on energy, and you're going to be fine. We also have a classic arena takedown in there. This is going to be pretty straightforward and easy. Nothing to worry about there. Easy points there. We then also have a champion training tournament. In fact, we have a champion training event here at the start, and a champion training tournament. So you're going to need to plan for leveling up and ranking up some champions quite a considerable amount during this event, because you're going to need to get these. Otherwise, you're not going to have enough shards. So you're going to need the energy to complete the dungeon tournaments and events, and enough energy to level up some champions across 2 separate tournaments and events. Although those go across multiple days. I mean, we're talking like 3 days here. In this case, 1, 2, 3, 4. It technically goes into 5 days worth. So if you're very smart with your energy, you could make it work even if you don't have too many gems to spend. Now, that leaves us with a couple gear enhancement events. There are 3 gear enhancement events that you are going to need to complete. So you're going to need a lot of silver sitting around as well. Now, you could use the strategy of just leveling up all your gear to +4 and then selling the stuff that doesn't look too good. You can get by with some fairly low amount of silver as well if you have some gear ready to sell. But you're gonna need like 10 to 20 million silver to even approach this thing. And if you don't have that sitting around right now, you're gonna need to make it. So you're gonna need a lot of silver. You're going to need a lot of shards, energy, and gems, right? The main resources of the game. So before you start this today, think about whether or not you have the shards. That's the most important thing. If you don't have any shards laying around, specifically ancient shards for the summon rush, and then maybe sacred or options for bringing in legendary champs in other areas of the game, whether it's from fusions or missions for your champion chase, then you have a chance of doing it. Otherwise, there's no chance. I mean, you could get lucky and complete the tournament here, the champion training tournament, and become #1 and get the extra fragments there. And that will put less pressure on the champion summoning part of this fragment calendar, but most likely that's not going to be easy to do because you'll be competing amongst everyone else trying to go for first place. It's not an easy thing to do. Now that we've had a look at his calendar, it's time to ask ourselves, are we going to work on this to get our hands on him? Is it worth it? Well, it's going to depend on your personal situation, but we're going to go through his abilities to see if he's any value. Some people believe he might be necessary for Faction Wars Hard. We'll see. Attack A1 here attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit transfers a random debuff from this champion to the target. If this champion is under any debuffs when attacked, counterattacks with this skill. A2 attacks all enemies. This one's pretty interesting. It has a 75% chance of placing a fear debuff, a 25% decrease critical damage debuff, and a 30% decrease critical rate debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. These debuffs cannot be resisted by enemies who are already under 2 or more debuffs. It's pretty interesting. I think this is quite a valuable skill, probably like one of the best parts of his kit. And then finish them level 1. Attacks one enemy, will ignore 25% of the target's defense, will ignore 50% of the target's defense instead if the target is under 2 or more debuffs. So you want to debuff champs and then hit them with this skill. And it places a block damage buff on this champion for 2 turns if this attack kills an enemy. And then we have the skill that is unlocked, the passive, once you've got Ascension at level 3. Whenever an enemy resists a debuff attempt from this champion, the next debuff placed by this champion cannot be resisted. Each debuff placed by this champion increases their max HP by 3%. Interesting. So there's a lot, and the aura is ally HP in all battles by 28%. So he's got a lot of debuff potential. And I think that the overall consensus is he's going to be potentially useful for faction wars, but besides that, not necessarily too much that he's going to fit into. The amount of damage he does is all up in the air. I'm not sure. Personally, I'm not going to create this guy. I've just done the Arta event. Right, well, I mean, it was free, but we've just been working on Arta on my account. And now we have a lot of other legendaries to go through. Shemnath, I know he's not great, but we've got a few. And also, a load of epics. I still need to fully upgrade my Haikatoon. My Geomancer needs to be upgraded. We've got Taragi the Frog. I've got so many epics that are going to provide me more value in my account if I max them out and properly equip them with the right gear than this one legendary will be. So that's my personal opinion. I've got other things to focus on. I'm not going to focus on this one personally. And also, I mean, yeah, we don't have many shards right now. So it's not even possible for me. If you have the shards, maybe you can do it. You're going to have to let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the comments.